All right, welcome to H period Algebra 2. It's Thursday, April 30th. Nice, cool, rainy day. Couple announcements. I am missing 5-2 quiz for the following folks. Now, I've got a couple quizzes here, and I've got several worksheets that don't have any names on them. So that could apply to you. So if you see a 0 for a problem set that you turned in, write your name on it and then send it to me again. Same thing applies to the quiz scenario. But let me go over who's missing the quizzes since they're more critical and more point valued. Mr. Carpenter, we already talked. Mr. Griffin, no quiz, 5-2. Mr. Jenkins, no 5-2 quiz. Mr. Johnson, no 5-2 quiz. Mr. Belize, no 5-2 quiz. Like I said, you may have submitted it, but if you've got it sitting right there in front of you on your desk, it doesn't have a name on it. That's the predicament I'm under. So just write your name on it and send it to me again via email, not Dropbox. Because once I download the stuff from Dropbox, it's a bear to go back through and figure out whose I have and who I don't have. All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns on that? No? All right. So the plan of attack today is when we were last together on Tuesday, we finished up 6-4 problem set 1, which was from last Thursday. We started 6-4 problem set 2 in class. You were supposed to finish that for homework. So I'm actually, this is the plan. I'm going to actually post the answer key. That way I don't have to try to do my scripted writing with using the mouse pad on my laptop. So I'm just going to post the answer key, and I'm going to go over it with you with some, watch out for us, make sure of, be careful of kind of things. And, I could probably do that in 10 or 15 minutes, all right? And then but if it takes more time, that's fine too, but I'm going to cut you loose whenever we're done. And there should be time maybe within the class period to take the quiz. All right, so here's the deal. Take the quiz today. If you take it today before I leave at 4 o'clock, I'll give you an extra 5 bonus points, but it has to be done by tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So I can grade them over the weekend. If you don't do it by tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I'm not taking any late ones.
What is it again, sir?
It's section 6-4 quiz.
Okay.
Did I take that?
I just loaded it in a Blackboard for you about an hour ago. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So you should have in front of you 6-4 problem set 2. The name of the section is nth roots. Okay. So have it in front of you. And like I said, I'm going to give you a few things to watch out for and be careful of. And it'll kind of be a great prep for the quiz. So my recommendation to you, the quiz is, I think, 16 questions. Most of them, half of them are done with the calculator and half of them are done with the calculator in between your 2 ears. All right. Shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes to do. And so I'd encourage you to take it right after we get done here. And you may still get it done before 2 o'clock. All right. So this particular problem set is we're doing the whole thing with a calculator. Okay. And it's going to be irrational numbers. And if you recall back to when we were doing the R's and the Q's and the W's and the I's, remember that? Irrational versus rational and that kind of stuff. Well, irrational numbers, in a nutshell, and what this is all telling you is numbers that kind of go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Okay. As I talked about on Tuesday, you've got to have a calculator that can calculate not only square roots and cube roots, but roots to various powers. All right. So just as a, let me change my screen here just a second. Let me try something here. Where's it doing that? All right. Just as a reminder, if you've got one of the TI models, all right, such as this, all right, just as a refresher, hit the math key. And if you look down that column there, number Let me turn it back around and look. Number 4 is cube roots, and number 5, you can do any root you want. And it should be fairly similar on the 83 model. This is an 84. If you got one of those nice real thin ones, I'm sure it's very similar to that. So if you've got a calculator that's not a TI 83 or 84, and you don't have the paperwork or manual how to do roots of things other than square roots and cube roots, just go to YouTube and Google how to solve radicals with model TI X-41234, and I'm sure there's a YouTube video there on how to do that'll walk you through that. Okay. All right. Any questions before I keep going? Okay. Now, if you just happen to have the calculator handy and you had done, let's see here, let me just do something real quick. So do it exactly. Bear with me. Let's see here. I just want to go over one thing to make sure we're doing the rounding right. So if you put this into your calculator and solve the 5th root of 18.2, it actually came out to, I'm going to do it clear over here since I got more room. Everybody can see my screen, right? Yes? Okay. All right.
We can.
You can see it? Okay. All right. It actually came out to 1.78654, and then it kept going. All right, kept going until there's no more room on your screen. All of these, just on this problem set as well as on the quiz, you are going to round to 3 decimal places, right? And that's 3 to the right of where the decimal is. Here's the decimal, okay? So just as a refresher, this could be old news, but as a reminder, if that first number that you are leaving off, if that is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, anything greater than 5, greater than or equal to 5, this then becomes 7, right? It goes up 1 for proper rounding. And this will be true whether you're rounding to 2 decimal places, 3, 4, 5. Same rule applies. If this number here is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then the 6 would stay just as written. You wouldn't change it. Does that make sense, or do I need to go into any more elaboration on that? Clarification? Everybody's good?
It makes sense, Suki.
Okay. I bet you've probably done some rounding and stuff in your science labs. Let me get rid of my scribble. All right. Let me, see if I can get over something. So again, it's saying to round to 3 decimal places. So there are, let me get my stuff out of the way so I can see my answers myself. All right. So there's all of side 1. So what I'd like for you to do is to look at your work and look at these answers and see if they agree. And if they don't, let's pick it apart, analyze, and figure out whether the mistake's on your end or my end. I'll just give you a minute or two to kind of compare, and then I want to isolate a couple things so make sure we have a good, complete understanding of that. Okay. Give me 1 second here. All right, let's talk about a couple things. This negative here outside the radical, it just goes with the answer. You don't do a thing with it or don't change a thing. It's not impacted or influenced or altered in any way with the radical, all right? If there's no number here in this little corner of the radical sign, it's always a square root. That's a given or understood, right? If it's something other than square root, it's going to be right here. So that'd be like a cube root. Let's talk about this one here, which we talked about on Tuesday. If you've got a negative under the radical, which you do, and it's an odd root, it is solvable, right? Just like if I take, let's stay real basic. Let's say we are doing the cube root of -8. Right? The cube root of 8 is 2 times 2 times 2, right? 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8, right? All right, so if there's a negative under the radical and the root is an odd, such as 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on, it is all solvable. So that's going to come out as a -2. And how's that work? Because -2 times -2 is a +4. And then the third -2 times that +4 is a -8. So negatives under the radical with a odd root are always solvable. Conversely, if I had, let's see if I had this. I had -9 under the radical, right? I took the square root of -9. It is no solution or unsolvable, right? Because there's no two numbers that I could multiply together to get a negative answer. No two positive numbers, no two negative numbers, no two identical numbers. Can I get a negative answer? All right. So anything else on side one I need to clarify or discuss?
We're good, sir.
All right, I'm going to, let's see, clear. Let's go to side two and take a look at that.
So,
Let's do. Okay. Take a look at those 6. Hopefully your answers match up with these answers. If they don't, ask and we will figure out what went wrong either on your end or my end. And just so we have a good understanding, this 3.081, if I took it to the 6th power, meaning I multiplied 3.81 times itself 6 times, it would equal that value, right? That's what you're saying. Any questions through 15? Are we getting these answers?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's see. All right, let me clean up my mess. All right. All right, here's 16, 17, and 18. If you would happen to see a word problem right after a series of problems, the methodology and mechanics are going to be exactly the same. Hopefully you tried this one and you got this or something close to it. But it's just going to be 2 under the radical 5, and it says, let's see. I'm sorry about that. Let me just read the problem. The formula R equals 2 times under the radical 5L is used by police to estimate the speed R in miles per hour for a car if the length of the car's skid mark is measured in feet. Estimate the nearest 1/10 of a mile per hour that the car was traveling if it had a 300-foot long skid mark. All right, so all you're going to do is you're going to plug 300 into there. Okay, so let me write the whole thing. Multiply it times 5, take the square root of that value, and then multiply it times 2. Right? Because if you think in terms of PEMDAS, the radical was considered or treated in order of operations as a parentheses. And you should come up with that. Okay? Might see something like that as a bonus problem. Any questions on that guy? All right. Let's see this. All right, similarly, the distance on the horizon in d miles from a satellite orbiting h miles above the Earth can be approximated with this nice handy-dandy formula here. What's the distance to the horizon if the satellite is orbiting 150 miles above the Earth? So we're going to take that 150, we're going to stick it right here, we're going to square it, and we're also going to use it actually twice. It's kind of odd. And we're going to square 150. And then we're also going to multiply 8,000 times 150. We're going to add the 2 and then take the square root. And you should have, that little squiggly pig's tail line is an approximation or an estimate or a rounding. That's what that stands for. All right. Let me, any questions on that? Are we good? Let's do some. I got one other thing to go over with you, and don't hesitate to ask questions. Give me 1 second. I got to retrieve something here. Let's see. Fourth quarter. Let's see. Okay. See, is there anything else I need to do here? I'm just checking to make sure I've covered everything on the quiz. Let's see. Let me just, that's really not what, it's not what I wanted. We're going to use this as a, let's say we've got, just as a refresher, 121.
Wait, sir, is this the quiz 6-2?
It's similar to it, but it's not it. Shouldn't be it. 121 p to the 4th and q to the 6th. And that is a 6. All right. And there's nothing here, so it's a square root. So the 121 comes out, the square root of 121 is 11, which you could put in your calculator. You can't put the p to the 4th, q to the 6th, but it will give you the square root of that. P to the 4th, remember there's a 2 there, all right? So it's really, when our exponents don't have, it's kind of like when our exponents have exponents, we multiply. When our exponents have roots, we divide. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, so it's going to be p squared, and it's going to be q to the 3rd. And that's not a negative sign, that's an equal sign. Okay? Let me do one more just for giggles to make sure we're in good shape. Let's do this. Let's say we got 27. Let's trick it up a little bit. We got 3. We're going to do cube root. We're going to do q 3 and r 15. You can see that all right? This is solvable because I got a negative under the radical, but I'm taking an odd root such as 3, so the negative comes out as is. The cube root of 27 is 3. Q to the 3rd power divided by the 3rd root is just q, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. Sorry, far. R. So there is your answer. All right, so that is the quiz review. All right. Any questions? It's loaded on Blackboard. Like I said, if you want an extra 5 points, take it before the end of today. Shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes. Drop it back in the dropbacks. Make sure, if I stress it enough, put your name on your quiz. All right. I hope scavenger hunts are killing me time-wise. We will start 6-5 on Tuesday. If you've got any questions, we don't have office hours today. You should have gotten an email because we've got some kind of all-hands meeting at 2 o'clock that I've got to go to. But if you want any help or questions or you run into any snags on the quiz, I've got office hours tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. All right. If Mr. Cruz, if you could stay on once we disembark, I need to talk to you for a second. Remember to check Blackbot. If you've got a 0 in there and you swore you submitted the problem set or the quiz, you may have done so. I've got 3 or 4 quizzes sitting here from the 2 classes and probably about 12 problem sets. Some of them have very good work, but they don't have a name on it, and I don't recognize the handwriting. So you should still have it in your notebook. Hopefully you didn't throw it in your wastebasket there next to your desk. Just email it to me. Don't put it in Dropbox because I don't go back to Dropbox. It's hard to go back to Dropbox to figure out whose do I have and whose do I don't have. Okay. Again, I don't have quizzes on 5-2 from Belize, Hayden Johnson, Brandon Jenkins, East Griffin. Okay.
Sir, can I stay after 2? Because I have a question.
Yes. Let me see. Let me just check my roll before I disband everybody and make sure I've got everybody that's here. I won't leave anybody off because that's part of your rep grade. If you want the extra 10 points, you haven't already done so, you can check in with me on office hours tomorrow since we don't have office hours today. And any questions before I cut you guys loose? Any questions? All right, do well on the quiz, watch for careless errors, watch your keyboard entries. Make sure when you write the answer down, does that make sense to be the 3rd or 4th or 5th root of something? If you got time, go back and check your work. Be careful of the negative signs under the radicals and whether they are to an even root or an odd root. Write neatly. And extra 5 points if you have it back in Dropbox by 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock today. And we're going to start 6-5 on Tuesday. Okay. And that is it, unless there's any questions. And those 2 individuals I already mentioned, if you'd hang on after I start signing off and I turn the recorder off, we can chat for a second.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
So our only homework is that quiz, right?
That is correct. We'll start 6-5 on Tuesday.
Okay. And when is that quiz due?
The quiz that's in there right now,
Yeah.
it's due by 4 o'clock tomorrow so I can run them off before I go home. If you
Okay.
extra 5 points of bonus, do it by 4 o'clock today.
All right. Yes, sir.
Okay. It shouldn't take, if it takes you 20 minutes, it's taking you a long time.
All right.
Most of it's with your calculator. Okay. Other questions? Okay, you guys are free to go.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Have a
Right
good
now,
one.
and you could actually be done before the end of class period. Right?
Yes.
All right, let me stop sharing. Let me get to where.
Bye, Jaden.
Okay,
Bye, Eddie.
Mr. Daughtry, go ahead with your question.
Okay, so I was in Blackbot the other day, and I'm actually in it right now, and I have 3 zeros from 421, 410, and 423, and I went back and I turned them into Blackbot, the Dropbox. So I just want to know, like, should I email them to you?
Okay, and you were probably one of those lucky winners that put them in Blackbot or Dropbox with no name on it, and I didn't recognize your handwriting. So the easiest solution to that problem is to take a picture with them of your camera, take a picture with your camera phone or the scan app on there and just email them to me.
Yes, sir.
I'm here, but you may have submitted them, and I'm not going to argue that point, but it's probably, you could be one of those victims.
Yeah, I don't think I put my name on any of them either.
That's it. And I know if a couple of you guys have very distinctive handwritings, and I'm pretty confident saying, yeah, that's Mr. So-and-so's, but if your handwriting is pretty common, not very unique, then I just can't arbitrarily put a name on there because that's
Yes, sir.
wrong. All right,
Okay.
just resubmit them. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Cruz, let's see here. I don't have that 5-2 quiz. I didn't recognize what you were doing on that. I'm not sure where the disconnect occurred, but the vast majority of that quiz, everything on it was very incorrect. So hopefully you've still got your 5-2 problem sets there. Hopefully when we went over them, you checked your answers in your work versus, the answer keys when we discussed them and went over them after we did them in class, or you did them for homework. But I meant to grab your quiz here. Let me just double check and see if I've got it. I can't recall which, I don't have it here, and it may be across the room. I hate to get up, go over there and get it. But the vast majority of what you did was methodically incorrect. So I can shoot you another copy of the quiz. If you want me to work with you one-on-one right now, I can do a share screen and kind of go over a couple things with you. Or tomorrow I've got office hours from 9 to 10. I can do a share screen and pull up a couple 5-2 problems or problem sets, and we can go over them then.
Can I come in tomorrow?
Yeah, and then I will shoot you a new copy of the quiz.
All right, thank you.
Because what you're doing was not correct, and it's not going to serve you well going forward. And I want to make sure you've got a pretty good handle on the material, because you're going to see. I'm not sure what your thoughts are for math for next year, but I want to make sure that we've got you up to speed on that for next year. Whether you take pre-cal or you're going to do stats or accounting and finance or whatever. But I want to make sure you've got a decent grasp of that material.
All right, thank you.
So 9 to 10 in the morning, and I'll walk you back through you're dividing polynomials with either a polynomial or the binomial monomial. And I'll go over kind of there's kind of two different, when we're divided by monomial, I'll show you, just go back over how you stack them up to solve. If you're divided by a binomial, you've got two options. You can either use the synthetic or you can use the long division. And we probably did more synthetic than we did long, because just from teaching this lesson in the past, most of the guys kind of like synthetic because it was a little more simpler, a little less likely to make careless errors, a little more straightforward. But I don't care which one you use, but I'll walk you back through a couple of those just to get you up to speed. All right.
That's it.
Okay. So make sure you sign in tomorrow, because I can track you down. You're going to join me at 9 and we'll go over those.
Mhm.
Time between 9 and 10. Okay.
All
All right. Sounds good. Mr. Carpenter, I see you still lurking in the shadows there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the light. So I went on Blackbaud and just to see if it was even there, see if I actually even did turn it in.
Okay.
And it was there, and I clicked on it because you can click on whatever you turn in, and your picture will pop up.
Okay.
And so I think something happened there because it said picture cannot be found. So that might be some technical difficulty on my part.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I have the quiz. I think I might have thrown it out. So should I just redo it and then resend it to you?
Yeah. Do you have the actual quiz itself?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I can I can email you a blank quiz, but if
Well,
you,
the quiz itself is unfilled. That's not filled in. The one that you posted still up. So I can still click on the original.
yeah,
quiz.
because usually you just hand copy the answers. So
Yeah. It just.
you got that, just just go ahead and do it and try to get it to me ideally by tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. I'm already on question 6 since class ended.
Okay. If you get it every day, it's even better, because
Yeah, I'll get it.
I don't come in.
I can get it into you in probably 20 minutes. So.
All right, that'd be great. And then why don't you do the other quiz too, and then I'll have them to grade over the weekend.
Okay. And do I just email it to you instead of Dropbox?
Do today's quiz in Dropbox. Do the one that we're missing by email.
Email. Okay, got it.
I don't know if you could put them in both in the same Dropbox or not.
You can.
Okay, just put them both in Dropbox, but,
Okay.
okay?
All right. Thank you.
Today's Dropbox.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, we'll see you.